all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to JMS Podcast number 4. I can't believe we're already at number 4. Today's subject topic is one that has been debated for years, decades. And it is the pay-to-play system in the United States for soccer. Is it a broken system? Is there any way we could fix it? The pros, the cons, or just because USA is a different country, it's just the way it is. You know, in this episode, I want to share some of the pros and cons that people say. Some of the things that I hear that people say it's a broken system is that money is the determining factor for a player to succeed at the next level. And also it's that because of money doesn't provide an opportunity for players factors, and you could debate this. I think it's been debated. I've read so many articles and had so many conversations. I personally want to talk about the experience I've had from volunteer coach. Growing up back in the late 80s, early 90s, select soccer was very, very few teams. I believe Classic League only had 10 teams. So it was a pay-to-play, paid coaches' fees. We traveled. It wasn't as expensive as it is today, but there was a cost. I remember growing up playing rec soccer. It was volunteer coaches. Still remember my two coaches, Rudy Cipriano and Coach Gilbert. They were volunteer. They had kids that played, and these dads had a love for the game, and parents, we went to practice, and all we paid for was registration, uniforms. That was probably about it. And I think everybody played because it was affordable. And I believe when select soccer came, Oak Cliff Soccer, the coaches would send the best players to try out for the select team. I didn't know what select was. My parents didn't know what select was. We tried out, and that's when we ended up knowing that there was going to be a fee. You know, thank you to my legal guardian. She actually paid my select fees. Otherwise, my parents couldn't afford it. Being one of 6 kids, they wouldn't have been able to afford it. So if it wasn't for my legal guardian, I wouldn't have played select soccer. But if it wasn't for the coaches that invested in me as volunteers, I probably wouldn't have had the skill sets to make a select roster. Some of the benefits of clubs and select soccer, usually you get access to better fields. You have access to better coaches. I say sometimes because just because you pay for it doesn't mean it's actually better. There's some coaches in North Texas that I wouldn't let my kids play for, even if they paid me for it. But you get exposure to national events. So there's tremendous amount of benefits. But I want to go back to when I made the decision to coach. The main reason another reason why I also began coaching was my kids I had a plan to send them to private school. I wanted them to have a good education. So my plan was to send them there, and I simply didn't think I was going to be able to afford select soccer. So I got off my couch and decided to coach. I did it 8 years as a volunteer. So it was kind of the fees, pay for recreational soccer, pay for tournaments, pay for your teams, pay for your indoor leagues. It was kind of like pass the hat. We didn't have collections. It was just like, hey, we're doing this, parents, this date, indoor soccer, who wants to play and continue playing. We're renting indoor space because there's rain. So parents did pay a fee for the actual cost. And if you add all the tournaments, and it adds up. So I did it 8 years for free. And I remember it was after U11 select, we ended up putting 2 select teams. And we had 60 some plus girls. Nobody paid any club dues. We practiced in my backyard or any really abandoned field. After U11 select soccer, we had 2 teams in Division One. One team stayed in Division One. The other team was relegated to Division Two. And I remember I had 14 girls. Out of those 14 girls, only 5 stayed to play with our Division Two. Most all the parents, they contacted me and they're like, we love you, we love the club, but our kid's a Division One player. She's not going to develop at Division Two. And they left. They left to the bigger clubs. This is when I was independent as kicks with no fees. And they left, and I realized I had no problem paying the 2,000 plus fees just to play Division One. That point there, I felt that soccer was taking up all my time, my phone bill, electricity, because I would have the kids stay at the house, camps, water bill at the house, because I would water the grass, expenses, even like extra uniforms I would have. I was spending a lot out of my pocket, but I did it for my daughter and my niece. But I realized, okay, it's taking so much of my time. I was in the life insurance industry. My job hours started, was really more focused towards soccer. And I felt that, it was kind of my ministry and it was growing. So at that time, I decided to get a little bit more structure and decide to start charging parents for a fee. I was hearing how all the clubs, coaches were getting paid. And I believe the first year that we had select fees were $700. And I think it came out to like $40 a kid per month that will come to me for gas, for just, extra income. And I remember during that time, the players that have left, I realized that the parents only cared if they were Division One to get access to those showcases or the exposure. So I've always heard this from parents in the community. Clubs are greedy. Clubs are at fault for the pay-to-play system that we have in U.S. And I always say, I actually think it's the parents' fault. I actually think the parents, when nowadays they don't do rec, so they have to pay for more leagues, better fields. The leagues are getting they're getting more and more expensive. Referee fees are getting more and more expensive. And I'm not blaming the referees, because what they go through, sideline abuse, you couldn't pay me enough to be a referee. So the cost is going up. And as you grow as a club, to have coaches on your staff, you have to pay them market value. There's facilities, rentals, whether you cancel practice, the facilities might still charge you. There's overhead, programs, the IRS, the government, they want their taxes. And so operating a big club, it's a huge, huge undertaking. It's a huge expense. So they have to pay to play. Somebody has to pay. So I feel that the parents blame the clubs for pay to play, and it is outpricing a lot of single parents that are from the inner city, because they simply cannot afford. And I feel that the clubs, they say that they want to make a difference. MLS wants to make a difference, but I feel that the late bloomers are the ones that get left behind. Because if you're good in North Texas, I shouldn't say good, special, and you help a club win, they'll give you a scholarship. They'll find a way, and they'll use it as a write-off or whatever, or say, see, we really care about the pay to play, but the club is basically recruiting you to win games. At some point, if you're value to the team, whether it's your growth spurt at early age or you're specializing in a certain skills that puts you ahead, that goes away and you're a number. I've seen so many players that were scholarship at U11, U12, U13, and by U15, U16, they're looking for a team, and the team that used to scholarship them no longer needs them. I've seen that happen. I said, so I feel parents today, they want to put their kid in a I guess a head start, and so they're specializing in private training. And I hear this all the time. Private trainers say these coaches aren't teaching the kids the basic skills, and I agree with them. I think in large they're not, because the coach is focused on winning, because that's what's going to put food on his table for the majority. I'm not talking about everybody, but for the majority. So the parent, I feel, feeds the beast, that this is what we're focused on. So the coaches work on tactics to be very result specific, goal minded. With a trainer, they don't have to deal with parents. They don't have to deal with playing time, substitution, positions, how to deal with players, how to talk to them, communicate. Every player is different. So a trainer just has to basically look and say, okay, you need to get better in X, Y, Z. And the parents are paying, I feel like they're paying even more money for private training in a year than they do for select soccer. But it becomes, okay, I want to win, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. So then the product becomes, this is what this club is doing or winning. More and more, they recruit coaches to come to the club. Well, somebody's got to pay those fees. So then you basically pass that cost on to the families that can afford it. It excluding more and more inner city kids. And I do feel it's a system that the parents are driving. The clubs are just giving what the parents really are asking as a customer. But I do feel it's a broken system. Whether we could fix it or not, I have my doubts. I did it 8 years for free. And even when it was free, parents still complained and wanted more, but wanted it free, wanted handouts. I truly feel that the only way to really fix it, or the only people that could do it to fix it or make improvements, is the U.S. Federation. I feel back in 2017, 2018, the Federation created DA, Developmental Academy League. And they put a lot of money, millions of dollars, into DA. But I feel that it was at U13 and above. At that point, you're not going to make a big difference for pay to play, because the late bloomers, the players that didn't get the specialized training, they're not getting the scholarship. They're not getting that opportunity. But I feel the Federation, the sport is growing so much. There's so much sponsorship, but I feel the Federation, if they came in and built more futsal courts, more private courts, or even ran league sponsored where they're working with clubs to bring down the cost, I think that could help. But it's something that they might not want to get involved with. But I do feel that it is a pay-to-play system that it's broken. But I feel that just because we're U.S. and majority of parents just want to win, we really don't care if we leave out the late bloomers or inner city kids that can't afford it. So that's my take on pay-to-play. I think we could debate pay-to-play for weeks, decades. I welcome any coach that wants to have another take, or parents questions, send them. Again, these are topics that I just kind of want to share, and I appreciate for listening. and hopefully looking forward to doing episode 5. Thank you.